So anyways, so we're talking about philosophy, and the first thing about it is that it's separated into different branches and doctrines. And the philosophical branch is a broad division of the overall subject. A philosophical doctrine is a particular theory, principle, position, system, code of belief, or body of teachings. And these are famous, like words ending with isms in philosophy. And within each branch, there are any number of related, similar, or opposing doctrines covering different aspects of the whole. And although many doctrines overlap with and may have repercussions in more than one branch of philosophy, and the distinction between philosophical doctrines or theories and the various movements of schools of philosophy is sometimes blurred. So philosophy as a whole is traditionally split into these four or sometimes more branches. The main four are metaphysics, which is the study of existence and nature of reality; epistemology, the study of knowledge and how and what we know; ethics, the study of how people should act and what is good, valuable; and aesthetics, which is the study of basic philosophical questions about art and beauty. And in addition to these, two more branches are often added, which is logic, a study of good reasoning by valid reference and demonstration; and political philosophy, how people should interact in a proper society. And in addition to these, there are other branches concerned with philosophical questions arising from other disciplines, like philosophy of mind, which is study of nature of mind, consciousness, etc., and philosophy of religion, and science and history and education, etc. And many others could be added to this list, such as philosophy of law, sociology, mathematics. Anyways, and metaphysics is the branch of philosophy that deals with the first principles of things, including abstract concepts such as being, knowledge, substance, cause, identity, and time and space. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy concerned with the nature of existence and being in the world. So arguably, metaphysics is the foundation of philosophy. Aristotle calls it the first philosophy. So it asks questions like, what is the nature of reality? And how does the world exist? And what is origin and the source of creation? And does the world exist outside of mind? And how can mind affect the physical body? So originally, the Greek word metaphysica indicated that part of Aristotle's study, of which came in the sequence. And it literally means after physics. So after those chapters which dealt with physics. Later it was misinterpreted by medieval commentators. And so I think over time it has effectively become the study of that which transcends physics. So Aristotle originally spread his metaphysics into three main sections, and these remain the main branches of metaphysics, which is ontology, the study of being and existence, including the definition and classification of changes, the nature of change, and physical and mental, and the nature of the properties. And natural theology, which is the study of God, including the nature of religion and the world existence of the more divine, and questions about creation and various other religious or spiritual issues. and universal science, which is the first principle of logic and reasoning, such as the law of non-contradiction. And metaphysics has been attacked at different times in history as being very futile and overly vague, particularly by David Hume, Immanuel Kant, and A.J. Ayer. So it may be more useful to say that a metaphysical statement usually implies an idea about the world or the universe, which may seem reasonable, but it is ultimately not a very verifiable thing because nobody can prove that their opinions on metaphysics and it's not testable or provable. And so yeah, first thing about metaphysics is existence and consciousness. The task of understanding consciousness is a diverse project. Not only do many different aspects of mind count as consciousness in some sense, each one is also known to various aspects in which it might be explained or modeled. So understanding consciousness involves a multiplicity of not only explanations, but also questions that they pose and sorts of answers they require. And the relevant questions can be gathered under the three core rubrics of what is and how and why questions. So the problems are descriptive and explanatory or functional. So descriptive questions are what is consciousness? What are its principal features? What by means they can be discovered, described in models. And explanatory is like how does the consciousness of relevant sort come to exist? And is it a primitive aspect of reality? And if not, how can consciousness arise from or be caused by non-consciousness entities or process? And the functional questions are like, why does consciousness of relevant sort exist? Does it have a function? And if so, what is it? And does it act casually? And if so, with what sorts of effects? And so on and so on. So these three questions, these three types focus respectively on describing the features of consciousness, explaining its underlying basis for cause, and explicating its role or value. So the divisions among the three are, of course, somewhat artificial, and in practice, these questions one gives to each will depend in part on what one says about the others. So you cannot, for example, adequately answer the what question and describe the main features of consciousness without addressing the why issue of its functional role within systems whose operations it affects. And nobody could explain how the relevant sort of consciousness might arise from non-consciousness processes unless one had a clear account of what just features had to be caused or realized to count as producing it. And so those three-way divisions of questions kind of provide useful structures for articulating the overall explanatory project and for assessing the adequacy of particular theories or models of consciousness. And in response to the what, why, and how questions, many of the theories have been proposed in recent years. However, not those theories of consciousness are the same thing. They vary not only in specific sorts of consciousness, detected objects. Perhaps the largest division is between general metaphysical theories and that aim to locate consciousness in the overall ontological scheme of reality, and more specific theories that offer detailed accounts of its nature. So line kind of blurs a bit here. Nevertheless, it's useful to keep the division in mind so when surveying the range of current theories. And I think we talked about it here, like people kind of give questions about metaphysics, and this one really famous person is Immanuel Kant. And he wrote the books Critique of Pure Reason, Critique of Practical Reason. And even though Kant himself held that his view of the mind and consciousness were inessential to his main purpose, some of the ideas central to his point of view came to have an very large influence on later people. So some of his ideas are now central to cognitive science, for example. And so other ideas equally central to his point of view had little influence to subsequent work. The books he wrote, especially those on metaphysics, have moved to philosophy beyond the debate between the rationalists and empiricists, which had dominated age of reason. And also in the early age of enlightenment, which happened in France. And indeed, to combine those two apparently contradictory doctrines. So his ideas and original thought have informed about almost every philosophical movement since then. And then he continues to challenge and influence philosophy in both the analytic and continental philosophy to this day. So anyways, the quotation above, the quotations here, like he said, if something exists, then absolutely necessary being must also exist. I myself at least exist. Therefore, absolutely necessary being exists. And also, it must not be physical, but metaphysical, that is, knowledge lying beyond experience. Can therefore have for its basis neither external experience, which is the source of physics proper, not internal, which is the basis of empirical psychology. They establishes the human consciousness is kind of holistic and involving the totality of the human mind. It consists of external conditions, and this means the world as encounter with objects of experience and other physical condition of human consciousness, such as psychological, chemical, and neurological structures of the body, as well as cultural, more generally, and social conditions of consciousness and internal condition to consciousness, which relates to consciousness as part to whole, and in which elements are lively structures through which one is aware of things. And this suggests that Kant takes the ontological and cosmological arguments to become complementary expressions of the one underlying rational to the unconditioned. And you can say that existence, which is the fact and the state of beings, is axiomatic, meaning that it does not rest upon anything in order to be valid, and it cannot be proven by any more basic premises or experiments or anything, because it is necessary for all knowledge, and it cannot be denied without conceding its truth. A denial of something that is only possible if an existence exists. And the existence exists is therefore an axiom which states that there is something as opposed to nothing, which is nihil. And nihilism, which is defying the existence of everything. So metaphysical nihilism is the kind of a philosophical theory that there might have been no objects at all, and that is, there's a possible world in which there are no objects at all, or at least there might have been no concrete objects at all. And consciousness is a faculty that identifies things that exist. Rene Descartes，就是笛卡尔啊，他说什么？这怎么讲来着？反正就是 I think therefore I am. And he argued that the consciousness is axiomatic because you cannot logically deny your mind existence at the same time as using your mind to do the denying. However, what Descartes did not make clear is that the consciousness is the faculty that perceives that which exists. So it requires something outside of itself in order to function. It requires and is dependent upon existence. So the primacy of existence states that existence is primary and consciousness is secondary, because there can be no consciousness without something existing to perceive, and existence is independent of, and also makes possible, is a prerequisite of consciousness. And consciousness is not responsible for creating reality. It is completely dependent upon reality. And also about Descartes, he posed a famous problem called the mind-body problem. And the mind-body problem is kind of philosophical problem concerning the relationship between thought and consciousness in the human mind and body. And it is not really obvious about how the concept of the mind and the concept of the body relate. For example, feelings of sadness cause people to cry, and finding a joke causes one to laugh, but no one can explain until today. And also about existence and consciousness in metaphysics do have a connection with the concepts of planes and mythology and religion. In both areas, different planes or levels of reality are often seen as layers or stages through which consciousness of the soul travels or interacts, and representing stages of like awareness, consciousness, and enlightenment. Yeah, it's kind of like, and in esoteric cosmology, a plane is conceived as a subtle state level religion of reality, in each plane corresponding to some type, kind, or category of being. So a popular belief is that the 7 planes, physical plane, astral plane, mental plane, something. And many mythologies, especially in Hinduism, Buddhism, and many other Western mystical traditions, describe the multiple planes or realms, often associated with God, spirits, or higher states of being. For example, the Hindu and Buddhist cosmologies outline different worlds or realms, and like this thing here. This is the Hindu belief, I think it's Hindu or Buddhism, of the 7 chakras of a person, and each one represents a plane. So, and also in many mythologies, afterlife realms like the Greek Hades or Norse mythology hell are conceived as separate planes of existence that correspond to post-physical changes of the soul's journey，就是它有一棵树啊，就是那个挪威神话，它有一棵树，然后那个树底下根它是长成几层的，然后有一层是给地精住，有一层给哥布林住，有一层给什么一只眼睛的巨人或者是寒冰巨人住吧。然后好像还有一些什么地狱之类的也分层，就差不多这个意思。And consciousness and transcendence. 哦，不是，后面没有了。So, kind of many metaphysical models describe the consciousness as it reaches higher planes. So, the stages of consciousness, starting from the physical and everyday awareness to more subtle and transcendent states, and the ascension of plane is sometimes associated with spiritual awakening, enlightenment, or achieving unity with the higher consciousness. 就是这张图就差不多这个意思。And also, many metaphysical frameworks explore existence beyond the physical realm and also proposing to levels of reality that goes from material to spiritual or mental. 就我上学，然后初中老师他一直在那边讲，就是教数学的老师，他说数学的尽头是，啊不是数学啊，科学的尽头是哲学，然后哲学的尽头是玄学，然后差不多吧。The theories like dualism and monism, they try to explain how consciousness, the mind, and matter, which is the body, coexist or emerge from each other. And the planes of existence in metaphysics often map to different realms of experience, with the physical plane representing the most immediate and sensory-based reality, and higher planes symbolizing more abstract, spiritual, or transcendental experiences. So, in metaphysical philosophy and mythological frameworks, planes serve as a structure for understanding the journey of evolution, consciousness, and existence, and they provide a way to conceptualize different locations of consciousness that may be metaphysical states or actual realms within cosmological beliefs. 没了，这是什么？哦，这是那个我查的那个 consciousness 的东西，然后它基本上会分成这些 theories 啊，反正没什么东西，不看了。